Since we are focusing on tshuva, and really that's one of the main things that we need to focus all of our life. I know now, Elul, Tishrei, we're doing our tshuva boot camp, you want to focus on tshuva, but you need to focus on tshuva all your life. And you know what our sages say? There are a few times when one can do tshuva, but you know what's the most auspicious time to do tshuva? Is the second after you did the sin. You can do tshuva Erev Shabbat, Erev Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, but the ultimate time to do tshuva is the second after you did the sin. To catch yourself, right away do the tshuva. Now, let's define quickly what it means tshuva. Because tshuva in Hebrew, you can read it tashuv hey, return hey. Tashuv means to go back. What is tshuva? Is that you have to go back to the place where you started. That's what it means, tashuv. Because if it wouldn't mean that, you know what it would say? It wouldn't say lashuv, it would say lalechet. Go to a different place. But it says come back, tashuv, to exactly where you started. Which means that I drifted off and now I have to go back to where I started. Other than that, it would tell me lalechet b'tshuva, lo lachzor b'tshuva. It would tell me go. Go to a different place. Ascend to a higher place. And rather the Torah chose to say tashuv, return to the point where you took off. How many times you drive on a highway, you miss the exit, you have to go off, and turn around, and go back, and then start from where you messed up. And in many cases. Now where do you have to go back to? If you tell me I have to go back to, so where do I have to go back to? Our sages tell you, le'atzmo, go back to yourself. What does that mean? To your place that is most natural for you. Now, how do I find what is the most natural place for me? And you tell me go back to yourself means to go back to the original me, or one can say go back to where it's most natural for you to be. I don't know, maybe it's natural for me to be on the beach right now with a beer, no? I don't know what's natural for me. So the teachings of Kabbalah explains to us that we have 3 stages in our existence. The first stage is when I'm glued to my source. Every morning we say, Elokai neshama shenatata bi Torai, Hashem, the soul that you give me is pure. And our sages explain that our soul was carved off from somewhere, from the Master of the universe. It's Chelek Elokah. Our soul is a piece of God. So the first stage in my existence is when I'm glued to my source. That's the first stage, when I'm part of the Master of the universe. Now, what is the status when I'm in that stage? It says, Adam batelu mevutal. You are complete and nullified to the Master of the universe because you're part of the Master of the universe. In Hebrew we say, En lo ratzon mishelo. You don't have a desire or will of yourself because you're attached to the Master of the universe. Now, I'll give you an example of what it means that you don't have the will of yourself. If you're hungry right now, then you have a will to eat, right? Some type of a desire is being aroused in you. I'm hungry. I need to eat. I don't know many people who say, I'm hungry, let me fast for a day. Usually it will be, I'm hungry, let me eat. I'm tired, let me sleep. How do I fulfill the hunger to become full and satisfied? Is that I pleasure the body with food. It is pleasure, whether you like it or not, unless you eat horrible food. But I'm just saying, in the technical part of it, how do you cancel the desire? Is because I gave the body what it needed. And this is food. And the Kabbalistic term to that is ta'anug, pleasure. You gave your body what it needs, now the desire stopped. If you are not hungry, it means I don't have any desire to eat right now, because the body is satisfied. And this can be done in almost anything. A person desires a woman, he has a spiritual, or not a spiritual, a physical hunger. He does what he does, that's it, that hunger calm down. Why? Because you satisfied the hunger. You satisfied the desire. How? With pleasure. So the pleasure can be marital relations, the pleasure can be food, the pleasure can be sleeping. That's how you satisfy the desire. So what do we learn from that? Ta'anug mevatel ratzon, et hachisaron. The pleasure cancels over the deficiency. So when I lack something, I give it some pleasure, that's it. I'm done. So, this is the first stage of the soul's journey. The next one is that when the soul is in a body. So the first line, the first type of existence, the soul is attached to the Master of the universe. It doesn't have a will of its own because it's connected to the Master of the universe. The second stage of the soul's life is when the soul is in a body. This is what's going on right now. My soul is in a body. Now, why am I in my body? Because I came to do a Tikun. I came to do some type of a rectification. I didn't come here to enjoy rogalach and coffee. I came here to do a Tikun. If I get here 80 years, you have 80 years to do a Tikun. Tikun means a rectification. And the third stage of the journey, Neshama chozeret ledvekut. The soul goes back to its original part, how it's glued to the Master of the universe. So stage one, I'm attached to God. Betachlit habitul, in a complete nullification, I don't have a desire or will or thoughts of myself. Number two, I'm in a body to do a rectification. Number three, back to my source. Now, it seems that number one and number three are the exact same thing, right? I'm attached to my source. Only number two is separate, I'm in a body. So one might say, 1 and 3 are the exact same thing. The difference is that 1 and 3 is 1 is before a tikkun, 3 is after a tikkun. 1, are you following when I'm saying 1? 1 means where you start. You start attached to Hashem, but that's before a rectification. Number 3, I'm back attached to my source, but after a rectification, after a tikkun. Now, when the prophet Hosea says, Shuvu Israel al Hashem Elokecha, this can be found in the book of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 2. The verse says, Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God, for you have stumbled in your iniquity. That's what the prophet tells us. So when I do a sin, I told you before, you damage your vessel. What's the result from damaging your vessel? You don't receive the spiritual light. What do you need to do? You need to do tshuva. You have to do an action of tshuva, of returning back. How do you do that? You have to reach to a place of what's called slicha, forgiveness. I wanted to teach today, we're not going to have time, we'll do it tomorrow. There are 3 levels what you need to reach. Slicha, mechila, kapara. Forgiveness, atonement, and pardon. It's all 3 things. It's important to know now, especially before Yom Kippur, because you need all 3 of them. I'll say it again. Slicha, mechila, kapara. All different things. Mechila is forgiveness, slicha is forgiveness, mechila is atonement, kapara is atonement, and mechila is pardon. It's all 3 things, but that we'll learn in a different class. How do I get there? I have to reach to a level of slicha, of forgiveness. What are the 3 things that I need to do? And if I do that, I will be reaching to a level of atonement. First, I need slicha, forgiveness. If I do 3 actions, well, I will reach to a level of atonement. What are these 3 things? First thing is charata, regret what you did, and you have to do it in your heart or your thought. Vidui, then you have to do confession with your mouth, and that's dibur, and then you have to have kabbalah la'atid. Kabbalah la'atid means that you stop doing what you did, and that's action. So you have to activate 3 levels of thought, speech, and action. Thought is that I regret what I did. I wish I didn't do it, but real charata. The second one is vidui, confess. I have sinned, I have spoken lashon hara, I have stolen, I have embezzled, I lied, etc. I'm not talking necessarily also on Asham Nubagano. And the last one is Kabbalah Natid, apply action. I'm not doing it ever again. You do all these 3 things, then what happens is that you reach to a level of forgiveness. The same says, I will forgive you. Great, I'm happy you forgive me, but I still owe the money. So you need an atonement. You need kapara. So do the 3 things that I told you. Charata vidui kabbalah la'atid, then you will reach kapara. You will reach an atonement. And how do you do all this? I mean, I'm talking very quick and very, oh wow, what's the big deal? I'm just going to say sorry and everything will be fine, right? How do I reach to this level of atonement? Lehakir she'ani lo beseder. I have to acknowledge that I was the one who was wrong. Not like what I told you last week that Adam HaRishon says, Haisha asher natata imadi, the woman that you gave to me made me sin. You're not going to get atonement from that. You might get forgiveness, but you're not going to reach kapara. You have to accept I was wrong. Not the circumstances, not the woman who was half naked, not she, not he. I was the problem. Therefore, I confess, I regret, And well, the order is regret, confess, and then I'm not going to do it again. But you can only do it when you accept that you are the problem, when you don't throw the fault on somebody else. When you do that, you are able to go back to the source, back to where you started. Therefore, the term is tshuva, tashuv lamakom mimeno itchalta. Go to the place where you started. The advantage of the tshuva is that it's after a tikun. I already go back to my source in a much higher level.